Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is just going to be a quick video update to talk about what is going on in the collective. And I've talked to a number of clients, I've been experiencing this myself, and so it doesn't feel heavy energy, but there's something that's happening collectively that I feel really needs to be understood. Okay. So what's happening is, and I feel like this started back in November, what's been happening is divine feminines have really been detaching from their divine masculines. We talk about this a little bit in the daily energy draw from last week called the choice point, and I do ask you guys to refer back to that if you want to know a little bit more about what is happening and why. But we're going to dive deep into that right now. So it's really important to understand that what you're experiencing in the 3D is not the truth. That is illusion. And I know it can feel so real. I know it can look so difficult sometimes. But what's happening is it feels like the universe is bringing us these, I'll call it scenarios for lack of a better word, in order to really push us to that next level, especially before 2020. So for example, what you might be seeing is divine masculine reverting to old behavior, patterns, addictions, scenarios, whatever it is. It's going to be different for everybody's situation. But they seem to be either not growing, not transforming, not changing in the 3D. Now, you might be experiencing this with whatever it is that you're experiencing, communication or lack thereof. You might be seeing them in what seems to be kind of repulsive behavior to you, poor actions, disappointing actions. They might be resorting to old addictions, old mindsets, scarcity, lack, fear, relationships even. The way this was explained to me is that the divine masculine is really trying to revert back to those old ways as a means of escape, so that they don't have to face themselves. The reason this is happening is because of their ego death. Now, I don't like to call it ego death because I feel like the ego has really served us up until this point, up until ascension. The ego really helped us to survive. It really helped us to understand ourselves. But we're at this point now where the ego needs to quiet, where we need to kind of heal the ego, quiet the ego, not so much kill the ego, but quiet the ego so that the soul truly rises, so that the soul is really the one, our intuition is really the one that is speaking to us, and that we're listening to the soul and the truth of the soul and not the illusions and the fear of the ego. But what's been happening is we're seeing, divine feminines especially, have been seeing things that are contrary to what we're feeling inside, especially the 3D evidence, so to speak, what we're seeing in the 3D. Again, this could be addictions, this could be behaviors, this could be lack of communication, this could be your divine masculine lashing out or projecting, or just really disappointing behavior that seems to be the old version of them. And your divine feminines are like, what is happening? You know, in my heart, I feel like we're ascending. In my heart, I feel like we're doing this together. In my heart, I feel him here with me. I feel his love. I feel him transforming. But when I look at the 3D, nothing's actually happening. It is because I'm gonna try to get this right. I've tried to record this twice now. I'm gonna try to get this right. What they're telling me, and we talked a little bit about this in the recent reading. I will put a link to that in the description box below so you can check that out as well. It's very powerful. The message is there. But I felt like this deserved its own special video. So, on the divine masculine side, it is because they are being called to rise. On the divine feminine side, it's because we are being called to really detach. Now, divine feminine has been working on detaching and releasing from their divine masculine for the past few months, for the past year, in phases. It's felt like it's been coming in phases. This is that heavy push, that final push to really detach. Now, that does not mean letting go of your divine masculine. If you believe that that person is your divine masculine, if you truly believe and feel it in your heart that that person is your divine masculine, that person is your divine masculine. Nobody, no psychic, no matter how talented they are, no intuitive, no friend, no family can ever tell you what you know in your heart. You have to trust yourself. You know yourself. No one can ever tell you what you know in your heart to be true. You can try to get validation. You can try to get confirmation from other people. Readers are here to serve as guides, to give you information that they feel that you need to know. But at the end of the day, you have to trust yourself and nobody else. You have to trust yourself over anything that you're experiencing, anything that you're hearing, anything that you're seeing. You have to trust what you feel within your heart. That is the intuition overcoming the ego, the fear and the illusion of the ego. You have to trust what is inside of yourself. You know what this connection is inside of yourself. So trust in that. Have faith in that. And that's also a lesson that Divine Feminines have been learning at this time, to truly embody that and embrace that and have faith within themselves and their own intuition, their own gifts. Because everybody has that gift. Everybody has the gift of their own intuition. And it's all about tuning in, tapping in, and trusting in that. So Divine Feminines, they've been pushed to release the connection. That, again, that does not mean completely letting go of the person that... I'll give you an example. I truly believe, even more so now than ever, that my person, the person who I've always believed to be my Divine Masculine, is my Divine Masculine. Even more so than ever now. I truly believe and have faith in that. But I was pushed to release the connection. I've been doing that over the past few months, especially in November. What you're actually doing is you're releasing the pressure, the encasement, the container of the connection, so that love can move more fluidly. Because love is meant to breathe. Love is meant to flow. Love is not meant to be this trap, for lack of a better word. And this connection, because we focus so much on the other person, on our Divine Masculine, on the journey itself, sometimes it can feel like a trap because it is so intense. And what we've done, Divine Feminines, what we are doing is we're releasing that through our detachment, by putting the focus back on ourselves and less on our person, less on our Divine Masculines. Listen, up until this point, we've been doing a majority of the active healing, what I like to call active healing. We've been doing the energy work. We've been doing the meditations. We've been doing the going within and doing our own meditations, getting visions and trying to dive deep within and understand those visions, understand our wounding, understand what we need to heal, bringing all that soul sludge up into the surface. We've been doing the majority of that active work. And it's not only been for us, but it's been with our Divine Masculine along with us, because we understand that as we heal, it also heals a connection. But now that focus was so heavily on our Divine Masculines that it was keeping them in a container as well, that they couldn't rise. And a part of that was our distorted energy as Divine Feminines. Our distorted feminine energy, I should say. Where we were overgiving, where we were overextending ourselves, where we weren't, it was almost like we were too much in our masculine energy, where we were controlling the connection, not from a manipulative standpoint, not from even a conscious standpoint, but from a place of wanting to help, wanting, this love felt so powerful within us, the connection felt so powerful within us, that it almost felt like we wanted to aid the connection along and guide the connection. And it's almost like we took that too far. We were holding the light, we were holding the space, but it was almost like we were taking that too far with overextending ourselves, overgiving ourselves. And Spirit's actually coming in now and saying, everything that you were doing, you were meant to do. Every single thing you were doing, you were guided to do. So don't take that as blame and responsibility on yourself, because this was all collective. And when we say collective, it means that everything was unfolding at exactly the right time for exactly this purpose, so that we could all come collectively to this point right here, right now. On our own journeys, we all have individual paths, but it's a collective journey as well. And it's all converged on this point right now where we're finding ourselves right here. And so, Divine Feminines, we had to really take a step back and choose for ourselves. But it was almost like the universe came in and gave us this final push by showing us something, they give me the word disdainful in the 3D, something that we didn't like. And it was almost because we were still holding on to the distortion of the divine masculine. We were still holding on to the past relationship. We were still holding on to the past connection, what the connection was. We were still holding on to the past version of them, and it wasn't allowing them to rise. We weren't giving them the chance to show us their strength, to show us their control and authority over their life, to show us their leadership, which is divine masculine energy. We were kind of controlling the connection. And now we have been learning to step into our divine feminine energy, which is flow, which is receptivity, which is just allowing and receiving, which is just, flow is just the word that they give me, just beautiful flow of energy. By us stepping back and choosing ourselves, taking the focus off of our divine masculine, they are feeling that energetically. They're feeling it as a loss of us, but by feeling the loss of us, they are being called to rise. They're being called to finally face themselves, look at themselves, look at their patterns, look at their addictions, look at the behaviors, look at their mindsets. Really, and for some, this was actually spiritual ego. For some, they had actually awakened before, but ascension is a whole new ballgame of awakening. Ascension is a new level of awakening. And for some, even if you're conscious of the ego, the spiritual ego gets in there. And that's what ascension really dismantles. It dismantles the spiritual ego, what you thought you knew about spirituality as a whole. And so it's really causing them to look at themselves and shift out of the past version of themselves, shift their mindsets, shift their consciousness in order to rise. And divine feminines, we had to step back in order to kind of hold that space and grant them that space to rise, to give them the strength to rise. And I'm going to give you an example that I gave to a friend of mine. My divine masculine seemed to be going through a dark night of the soul and depression, and I have been there. I have been there. When I was going through my chronic illness, I kept saying over and over, I don't want to be here. And that has been a common refrain over my life, where it felt like I didn't belong here on this planet, in this earth. I belonged elsewhere. And my mom always used to laugh. Well, she used to say it freaked her out, but now she laughs because she said, Susan, even as a little girl, you used to say, I don't belong here. This isn't my home. I want to go home. And she would say, Susan, you are home. Where do you want to go? It was because my soul was calling me to something greater. Now that I've gone through this healing, I understand. I've grounded myself here. I know I'm meant to be here. But when I was going through my awakening, when I was going through my ascension, especially when I was sick, I would constantly say, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I can't do this anymore. And I would hear that refrain in my divine masculine. My divine masculine would say that too. And that would freak me out because I knew what that meant for me, where my thoughts were going, where it felt like I couldn't cope, where I didn't want to cope. But I had the strength within me to keep going. And what I had to understand was my divine masculine has that same strength. And I just had to pull back and not be in that place of fear and just be in this place of trust and faith that he has that strength to rise, that he has that strength to keep going, that he has that strength to persevere, that he has that same fighting spirit that I have within me, within him. That took a lot for me to understand and to realize that we are one in that way. And he's been showing me that. He was showing me that. But again, divine feminines, I feel over the past few weeks, they really saw something. It was almost like the divine masculines, they were rising and then they retreated because of that fear. Well, the universe is really pushing them. It's like that final push, that great push to rise completely, to dismantle the old version of themselves, to put that to rest so that they can become the new that they want to become. They feel it in their hearts. They feel it in their soul. And for a lot of them, it feels like a pressure cooker. It feels like the world is just closing in on them because the world that they knew is too small now. Their soul is beckoning them to expand. And for a lot of them, they're just resisting that. And that's why the world just seems to be smaller and smaller and smaller. It's because their soul is expanding and expanding and expanding. And the world that they're still trying to fit into doesn't exist anymore. That's why it feels like they're in this pressure. And so once they let go of the old, once they let go of what isn't truly serving them anymore, their world is going to open up for the soul expansion that they have been experiencing. Now, I want to come back to what's actually happening in the 3D. So, divine feminines, you might have been called to detach from your divine masculine. You might have been called towards a soul connection. For some, that is actually the choice point that we talked about in that daily energy draw, and I'll link that in the description box as well. There has been a choice point where you can really look within and say, do I really want this anymore? Is this really serving me? Is this really serving my soul growth? If you truly feel, not just looking at the 3D, because the 3D is the illusion, but if you go within your heart and you truly feel, not looking at the 3D, if you truly feel like your divine masculine is not rising, there is a small segment, they just give me like 30%, there's a small segment of the collective that is actually choosing to move on to another soul connection, a soulmate. Because all relationships are catalysts for soul growth. And it doesn't mean that there won't be love there with that soul connection. There will be love there. It might not be that same experience as your divine masculine, but there will be love there and there will be growth there. For others, the majority of the collective, what is happening is you've been called to really detach in order for your masculine to fully rise. And what's happening is, as you're detaching and coming back to this place of choosing joy and happiness for yourself, really putting the focus back on yourself, this could be in the form of manifestations, looking at your own dreams, looking at your own manifestations, not sacrificing your dreams, not dimming your light anymore, because a lot of us, we were kind of sacrificing ourselves and dimming our light for the sake of the connection, for the sake of our divine masculines. But we're not doing that anymore. We're not giving up on our dreams. In fact, our dreams are even expanding. For some, it could be career. For others, it could be mission work. For others, it could be creative projects that you're just finding joy in. Socializing with friends, with family. You're just finding the joy. And as you find that joy, you're truly stepping into that divine feminine energy where you're surrendering the connection. Surrender does not mean giving up. Surrendering does not mean completely letting go. Surrendering just means what will be, will be. It's a knowing that you and your divine masculine are fated. It's a knowing that you and your divine masculine have this love, this bond that will not be broken. It's a knowing that you and your divine masculine have this love that is just all-encompassing, and that you will come together in sacred union. That sacred union is actually happening, that you're in the process of coming together in sacred union. It's a knowing inside of you. But surrendering to the connection is letting go of the expectations of how and when that's happening, including what you're seeing on the 3D. Letting go of what you're seeing on the 3D, because you know that that's just the illusion. And so that's coming back to a place of faith, of the unfolding, faith in divine timing, faith in this is going to unfold and I can't even fathom how it might happen, but I trust in this. And for a lot of divine feminines, what you're actually experiencing is an expansion of love. Your heart is just expanding so that you have anchored into this feeling where we've had little pockets of this over the past year, the past few months, the past few weeks, where you'll have moments or minutes, maybe even an hour or so of just complete bliss and happiness and harmony within yourself. Now you're truly anchored in there. It's true love and bliss and happiness and love for your divine masculine and from your divine masculine. For me, over the past few days, so I was actually called to block my divine masculine on social media. I'm going to give you an anecdote of what it is I'm talking about, so maybe you guys can resonate with whatever's happening with your own situation. We had a good time. We went to a hockey game. We had a good time. The next day, there was something that triggered in him where I woke up to messages that were just unfair to me. It was not deserving. And I know he was projecting. I know it wasn't personal to me. But I finally stood up and said, this is enough. We can't keep doing this. This was a cycle that we have been perpetuating, this poor communication. And then it was being ignored, me sharing my heart, being vulnerable, and then being ignored. And I said, that can't perpetuate. We can't perpetuate that cycle either, because that is not deserving of this love. That is not deserving of this connection either. If we're going to be in partnership, if we're going to be in a relationship, even a friendship, that we were not displaying the qualities, the give and receiving, the flow of love of even a friendship. It felt like our friendship wasn't even there. I would not tolerate that from behavior from anybody. And I couldn't believe that I had actually tolerated that for so long. And so I was moved to block him on Messenger, which is our main form of communication. He still knows where I live. We still have phone access. He can still text me. We can still call each other. I know that we're always there for each other if we need each other. That is without question. But I was actually called to block him on Messenger, on that communication where all that negative kind of communication was happening. I was so full of fear as I was doing it. It filled me with fear, but I knew in my heart that it was right. And I've questioned myself every day, and every day it comes back to this was the right move. This was spirit kind of intervening, saying this karmic cycle had to close. You had to hold up your boundaries, your self-worth, your self-respect, in order for this change to take place. And whatever happens now, I do truly feel like my divine masculine is transforming because of this. I feel it within me. I also know that that's how it's happening within the collective. There are a lot of divine feminines who have experienced that as well. In some way, shape, or form, they have detached in communication from their divine masculines as well, because there was some incidents, some situation, some scenario that forced them to do that. It was almost like they had enough. They were fed up. Divine feminines, your divine masculine is fed up as well. They're fed up with their own behavior. They're fed up with their own patterns. They're fed up with their own addictions. They're fed up as well. But you making that move, taking that action, has forced them to face themselves, possibly even for the first time. This is all divinely guided. This was all your soul's orchestration, and I say souls as plural. You and your divine masculine, you orchestrated this together with the divine itself. You orchestrated this together for this final push, for this purge, for this release of the old, so that you can come together for the new. And so divine feminines, have faith. I tell you, the love that I've been feeling for and from my divine masculine the past few days has been overwhelming, but not in that intensity of the past. It's been overwhelming in just a feeling of pure happiness and pure bliss and pure love, and just a pure faith and pure knowing. It's just, they're giving me the word pure. It's just a purity. It's just a beautiful, beautiful energy. And the 3D may not be reflecting that yet, but that's where we have to have faith that this will all come together and this will all make sense. And so they're actually asking me to pull back right now. I wanted to do this little video just to let you know that what you're truly seeing, what is happening in the 3D, it is all for a divine purpose. This is collective, what is happening. Especially with this 12/12 full moon portal coming up in the next 2 days. We're going to do a reading on that. I will talk about this a little bit more, try to explain it a little bit more, but I really felt pulled to do this video so that you can understand that what you're seeing, what is happening, it's meant for your continued healing and release, divine feminines, for you to step into your power so that you can release the connection, surrender the connection, for your divine masculine to step forward into their divine energy, out of their distortion and into their divine energy. And that's truly what's happening. By you kind of retracting, withdrawing your energy, focusing back on yourself, you're allowing the divine masculine to have the space to rise up and take that leadership role into their divine masculine energy. The divine masculine energy being one of beautiful control, not that corrupt control, beautiful control, authority over their lives, expression without fear, expressing their emotions, expressing themselves, taking authority. It's just a feeling of leadership, because the divine masculine truly does. The divine feminine leads from a place of intuition and wisdom and light. Divine masculine leads in the physical plane. They ground this energy in the physical plane, and that's what they're doing. They're being called to rise and take action and come forward towards you for this connection, to have this true, we've had a lot of false starts, but to have this true, fresh start, this new beginning, and something more grounded, and something more committed, something more cherished, something more divine, a connection that is more divine, connection that is more pure in this love. So I just wanted to explain what is happening. I hope that I deciphered all of that correctly. You can check out the recent recorded reading. I'll put a link in the description box below. I do explain more about this there, that, you know, if this is a little bit confusing to you, there will be more explanation there as to what's happening. And the choice point, if you find that you're moving on to a soul connection, the daily energy draw the choice point might be beneficial for you to understand and hear as well. So I will talk about this more. I don't know if we're going to have a live stream this week. Things have been a little bit hectic and busy, but I will try to get on. We'll at least have a recorded reading for the 12/12 full moon portal coming up, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. I'm sending you guys so much love, so much light. We'll be back with daily energy draws. I'll be recording those today, so make sure you stay tuned for those. And yeah, send you guys so much love, so much light, and we'll see you soon.